Hey there, divine loving greetings and welcome everybody. It's me, Alura. So this video is titled How to Not Be Mad at God. Thank you for stopping by and watching. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, we got the fire, and we gonna let it
burn. So a lot of people these days are blaming God for so many things that are happening in the world, and they're not realizing that it's not God, it's human beings. You know, for an example, the natural disasters that are happening in the world, yes, we know there's weather control. We know that there are energy weapons. We understand that. But we also know that there is a natural state of health for the planet too. And with that in mind, it can only take so much beating before it starts to produce chaos. It becomes confused as it is today. And we look around us and we see so much pollution, so much pollution. You know, there's so much garbage, there's so many toxins in the air, and the world is just piling more and more of it. You know, I know that even in my own household, if we weren't going to recycle, if we didn't collect compost, if we didn't burn some of the trash, well, how much trash would go out of this place? It's totally baffling. You know, one day we actually did the experiment and allowed it to pile up, and we looked and it was like in one day 6 bags of trash. And I'm thinking, how do we use that much trash? But it's true, because everything in your life is a product of being a consumer, you know? Food and packaging for everything, you know, and it just piles up. So the pollution has really damaged the earth, and it's created these natural disasters. And then people who have lost their homes or lost, you know, the people that they love in their lives through them, you know, they wonder, like, why has this happened to me? And they think that it's God, and it's not. It's a natural occurrence because of how people are treating the planet. It really is. You know, and then on top of that, you know, we have corruption. Then there's a lot of violence, a lot of crime. And when something really awful happens to somebody and they call out for God's help and the help doesn't come, you know, then they're asking, you know, why didn't God help me? And they become bitter and hurt, and they start to lose faith and they start to lose belief. And today's world conditions are a perfect example of that. Because if you look around us, we have a pandemic, we have all these natural disasters happening, we have, you know, trade war, economic collapse, violence and crime are at an all-time high. People are more watched and more controlled than ever, you know, and there is a lot of danger out there, a lot of danger. Cancer is a huge thing, you know, and then we also have, you know, all the time murders and drug abuse, and people that are just allowing themselves to turn a blind eye to all of it. They're turning a blind eye to all of it. They would rather sit, you know, in front of all of the pleasures of social media or television, even music, to entertain them, to take their mind off of it. But when something happens to them specifically, even some, you know, big obstacle, but maybe not as big as a natural disaster, you know, but when something big happens to them in their personal life, you know, that's when they stop and they say, oh, wait a minute, you know, why did this happen? You know, I thought I was safe, you know, and they don't take the time out to process, you know, what's happening. They just automatically dwell and sink inside of the negative situation that's just taken place. You know, people don't know how to work the matrix. They really don't. It's so simple and easy. Even if they were to learn how, you know, they are so used to their ways of how they look at things, how they handle things, you know, that they probably wouldn't be able to even use the tools to begin, you know, starting to, you know, master life a little bit better. So with that being said, you know, people are really outraged. You know, they feel abandoned by heaven. They feel like all of those prayers that they have put out there never came true. And that's really getting rid of the idea and belief of God at all. So how to combat this dying belief of God and the fact that people that do believe are angry? Well, first of all, God does answer your prayers. He does. It's just that he doesn't answer them when you want them. He finds a perfect timing too, or he lets his angels find the perfect timing too. For an example, you may pray for somebody in your life to change, and most people would expect that God will have that person wake up the next day and be a totally different person. But in fact, it's much more than that. God works through the natural forces of life as well as through every individual in it. And so for that person to change isn't going to happen overnight. Things have to happen. He's answering your prayer, just not immediately. What's going to take place is that there are going to be a series of events that knock that person on their butt to bring them down to this, rock bottom level, to where they have to take a necessary look at themselves and say, wow, look what's happened to me, and it's all because of my own fault. Or maybe they lose something that's important to them that gets them to see that maybe they played a hand in that. Regardless, he needs to provoke events and situations that are going to happen over time that are going to help to manifest that prayer for that person to change. And other people are going to come into the picture as players into making that occur as well. And that takes time. It takes time. It's the same thing with anything, oh, please help me get a new job. Please help me find that new job that I need. And you may not get a job right away. Why not? Well, because first of all, maybe there's a bigger message behind the scenes, that maybe that line of work isn't for you at all. So he's not helping you get a job because he feels as though you could do better, maybe get more pay and really use your talents and be happier doing something else elsewhere. Or maybe when you went in for that interview, it wasn't the place for you, but the position is. So now events are going to take place where you didn't get that specific job that you asked for, but you got the job elsewhere later on, because now people are influenced. And when you walk in the door to that second interview at another location, they're already, spiritually influenced by God to hire you. But because these things are taking so much time from when you prayed for them, you forget that, hey, wait a minute, this is what I prayed for, or it's not coming in the exact way that you prayed for it to. And so you're not recognizing, hey, this is what I prayed for. So a lot of people don't have the right outlook or awareness in how God works in their lives, and that's why they feel so neglected and so abandoned. But he never forsakens anybody. Everything in your life is happening for a reason. I could sit here and be mad all the time over so many things that have happened to me, and I can tell you that I have been through so many things in my life, and because of that, anybody that would have went through the same amount, certainly would more than likely have lost their faith a long time ago. But I never looked at life that way, because I was always taught by heaven how to, look for, heaven's work all around me. And that was because, they can help me, they can put miracles in my life, but they wanted me to be able to teach others how that works in theirs, here on a human level. And that's how it works. Time is so much different to the heavens than it is to human beings. And that's why when you're praying for something, at one point in time, it may not come until much later in the future. But still, when that prayer is answered to heaven, it's like you almost just recently prayed for it, And that's, how different in time range it is. So they feel like they're helping you immediately because their perception of time is different. But they know what to do, and they always do, and people don't trust that. They think they know what they want right then and there. They pray for it. That's it. Absolutely has to be that way. This is what they need. And God knows better. Heaven knows better. So if they could try to put their real faith, because without faith, works is dead. And that's true. Nothing can happen without real faith. People will say, well, I really believed. No, you did question a little bit. You doubted just a little bit here and there, and then most people will have, redirected themselves. Nope, I can't doubt it. I have to have faith. But you still did, and that plays a big role in it too, because doubt is the opposite of faith. And therefore, without that faith, without that belief, you're never going to have that awareness to look where you need to. So God has not left anybody. They have left God. Because as soon as they send that prayer or that submission out and it doesn't happen, they automatically close down. They think he's not listening anymore. And then slowly they pray less and less and less. And they don't usually jump back into prayer until something, really big happens. And then they need him. So God exists through our belief in faith, So you have to recognize, how God works in your life in order to not be mad at him. And you also have to understand that, here, everything is trying to tell you something. Everything is a lesson, and you may project some of the obstacles in your life too and not realize it because you don't have that real enlightened sense of self-awareness. A lot of bad things happen to a lot of good people. And they could say, I was doing everything right. I'm a good person. I thought I was following, life the way that I should. But yet all these horrible things happen. Why? Well, like I said, it could be a lesson. But there's also interferences, from the matrix itself. They could be tests to strengthen you. And most of all, you could have created it, yourself. It's the truth, There are so many different things that happen, in all of this. And that's why, reading a few books on spirituality or, jumping around from teacher to teacher based on earth-based teachings isn't going to help you to understand something that's otherworldly. Because while you're living in this holographic world, it is otherworldly, surrounding it that's built it. You're just on the inside. You're not on the other side, on the outside. And that's the knowledge that people need. The people need to have that knowledge on the outside. And, when you do have it and you start to use it, I'm telling you, you can look at life with no sadness, no resentment, no hate. You can live life without depression. You can know, when God is helping you, when things need to happen and why. And you can recognize a prayer being answered, right away or 15 years later. So it's really just, understanding heaven and how it works truly. Without that understanding, then yes, of course, people aren't going to know what to look for. And on the surface, it is going to look like God is absent. And that is going to create a lot of anger in people, just like it is today. Like I said, with everything in the world, the pandemic and so many other, very destructive forces out there, it does seem like, God has abandoned everybody, and he hasn't. People abandoned God, and they've made a lot of these destructive choices on their own, and now they're paying the consequences for it, but they are afraid, to face themselves in the mirror as the blame. They want to blame everybody but themselves. And that is the biggest step towards change on this planet, is for everybody to really take a good, hard look at themselves rather than looking at everybody else and everything else, and be honest with themselves and start working towards change. And that change is going to help so much for love to come back into your heart, because, the understanding that you gain through taking a good look at yourself and having the help from the right person to do that, it's profound, and it helps you to understand other people, and it humbles you. And it teaches you so much that now it's easier for you to be more accepting and more open-minded and kind. And that's a beautiful second stepping stone, towards really allowing the light to guide your path. And once you start doing that, you can feel the presence of heaven with you more and more. And yeah, over time, when you have learned a lot and you have realized a lot on an enlightened level, you're so in tune with that energy. It's so perfect, and it feels so good. It carries you everywhere that you go, and there is no pain or suffering anymore. You're bypassing all those issues. You're using every ounce of wisdom from heaven above, to really work around things here. And you feel God within and without, and in other people, even through people that have been really horrible to other people. You can really have compassion for them and see them, not for the things that they do, but for things that have been done to them too. To really judge on both sides of the scale as heaven does, and that restores love and compassion. And gradually, as you become better and other people become better, we all become better here, and this becomes a better place. And that's where the true light of God can truly illuminate this world again. But people don't want that, because then that means they have to change, and people don't want to change because then that means admitting, that they've been wrong, made wrong choices, desired the wrong things, hurt others, and even lived putting themselves above other people, or being closed-minded or being hurtful. I mean, there's so many things. But I think it really does come down to, people really needing to, put that to the side finally. I think, we've all done enough damage in this world. It's very, very true. And, I say, we all, because, I ride in a car every day. I don't drive it, but I still ride in it, and it's letting, pollution out, but what are you going to do? You have to travel far, right? Can't ride a horse anymore. But it does contribute to it. And, and so many other things, from the least to the greatest, we've all played some kind of role. But the idea is to try to join together to restore God here, and to get rid of the anger felt in him, and to start focusing attention on self, and to work through the things that, are destructive, and to start working towards, transformation to the higher self, the real higher self, and that helps you to not be angry with God anymore, and helps you not be subconsciously angry with yourself anymore either, or others. And that's a great feeling. It's liberating. Imagine never having to be upset or, harbor any kind of resentment or jealousy or anything that's just like, really caused you grief. It's a fantastic feeling. I wish everybody could, have this heavenly divine outlook. I really do. But that's a good start. Start looking for God in your life. And if, you don't get a prayer answered, don't stop looking for that prayer to be answered, because it will be, in different ways, more than one. It's awareness that you need. And he didn't do this as planet, don't be mad at him. He tries so hard through sending messengers here, like myself. He tries hard through, inspiring, people, and people are just so closed off anymore. They need to open back up and just allow that consciousness that connects to him to actually stream and really flow through higher self, through the soul's creator, and then their creator, who is, God. And that streaming, that open streaming vibrantly, without obstructions from the illusions of free will or ego, that's going to restore a lot of things. It really is. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that what I've said today made a lot of sense. Don't look at God for being at fault. Look within and be honest with yourself. Look at the world and be honest about the world. And then you can really start to love God again, and really make the changes in the appropriate places instead, if you're courageous enough to do that. Bye-bye for now.